Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank everybody for zooming into our first webinar for the industry sectors we're looking to develop in Western Providence, Zambia. I want to thank everybody that could come in and be a part of this to help things progress in a more quicker way as we try to move forward under the homecoming brand of our connection to Africa. And we have been welcomed tremendously in Western Province, Zambia. There are multiple opportunities, so we decided to go ahead and do this, that we look at that particular province as a way to get introduced to some of us into Africa for business, cultural, and spiritual exchanges as we move forward. We have some distinguished guests here that our moderator, Ms. Agnolia B. Gay, will introduce to you, and we're going to get going pretty quickly because in an hour and a half is not a whole lot of time for the content and the learning curve that we have to go through for this particular webinar. Each month we plan to have a new webinar on a different industry sector. And right now we're looking at January 2023 for another webinar in agribusiness. And then we'll also be looking at transportation, energy, mining, and this will give our business community and the community in general in the U.S. an opportunity to at least be aware of the opportunities in Western Province, Zambia, and how we can exchange expertise back and forth and look at mutually beneficial opportunities between us. I will be available, of course, this is what I do, so anytime you can always reach out to me. Most of you know how to get a hold of me and Mubita LLC, email and WhatsApp. So without further ado, because we want to get started, we'll have Ms. Agnolia B. Gay to introduce and share a little bit about herself and then introduce the first presenter up. All right, Ms. Gay, please.
Well, it looks like you might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. My name is Agnolia Gay, and I am here in Arkansas. I am a retired educator. I am the vice president of Cultural Immersion Media, which is a streaming network. I am an actress. I am a consultant. I am, again, a lot of things to a lot of people. I am so excited and just thankful to be able to sit here this morning among these master speakers, experts in their field, to share on this movement that our leader, Eric Mubita Shepherd, has brought to us today. I just would like to say, I would love for everyone to type in the chat where you are joining us from. That would be something that I think is very important for us to know and understand, that we can communicate from all over the world. I also would like for you to have pencil and paper, because the information that you're getting ready to receive today is something that you don't want to just hear, but you want to be able to apply and use as we move forward on this journey, because that's what we're on. We're on a journey. This is a movement. And I would also like for you to, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, just put them in the chat. Definitely write them in your notes so that you will have this for later. So Without any further ado, I think Eric has given us a lot of information. This is not something that's a one-time thing. We're going to be having these webinars throughout the year. And so I'm just going to go on and get started with our first speaker, a presenter, and that, let me pull up my little notes here. All right, I'm ready. Jeremy Faber is the private sector engagement advisor for the U.S. government's Prosper Africa initiative, where he manages client relations by coordinating a whole of government team of trade and investment advisors. Prosper Africa advisors connect U.S. and African businesses with two-way trade and investment opportunities, and the U.S. government support services they can use to advance their opportunities. Jeremy joined the Prosper Africa team after spending 4 years driving private sector engagement for the U.S. government's Power Africa initiative. He spent the last 10 years working for U.S. embassies and the U.S. Agency for International Development in South Africa, Zambia, and Kosovo. Before joining the U.S. government, Jeremy was a financial advisor for BMO Harris Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others, Jeremy Faber. Would you help me welcome him by dropping in the chat? Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Agnolia, and thank you, everyone. Thanks, Eric, for inviting me to be here today. This is a really exciting webinar. I hope you all are excited to be here. You know, just by way of introduction, I actually spent about 1.5 years living in Lusaka, Zambia. Moved back to the U.S. in 2019 from Zambia. Prior to that, I was in South Africa for about 4 years. Working for the U.S. government. So Zambia definitely holds a special place in my heart. I've been to the Western Province many times. And when Eric and I first met and he shared his vision for this kind of economic development plan out there, it was pretty obvious that this is the area in that part of Southern Africa that could really use it. You know, the bridge is done now to connect Botswana up through Zambia, and that just is going to open up a ton of opportunities, I think. So, but I'm not here to talk necessarily about that. I'm actually here to talk about Prosper Africa, which is the White House initiative to increase trade and investment between the U.S. and countries in Africa. We do that by bringing together the tools and resources of 17 U.S. government departments and agencies, all under one roof. And we've created a one-stop shop. So if you remember anything from me being here this morning, I hope it's our website. I want to drive everyone to our website. That is prosperafrica.gov. There, what we've done is consolidated all these different existing tools to help businesses trade or invest between the U.S. and Africa. And I also manage a team of trade and investment advisors, which can help your company or your business opportunity understand and navigate all those tools. Having worked for the government for 10 years, I'll be the first to admit that things are not very easy to access. And there are many businesses who have not even known about these tools historically. And so part of what Prosper is trying to do is to reach out to groups like this to bring awareness of the existing tools and resources. There are lots of different things on there. We have about 80 different tools represented, and it could be, again, super confusing to get through that, to know where these might fit in with you and your business opportunity, what you're trying to accomplish for your business. So what we can do is we can actually help advise. If you reach out to us through the website, we'll set up a call with you, spend about 30 minutes going through the opportunity, and then set up some clear next steps to connect you with our network of folks who can hopefully drive things forward. And these types of tools and resources include grants, financing, technical assistance, but more than that, it's our massive network of U.S. embassies and U.S. Agency for International Development missions across the continent. We have thousands of U.S. government personnel on the ground across Africa today that if you're a U.S. taxpayer, your money's paying for that. And that is something that you should have access to. Of course, it's a bureaucracy, so there are certain ways that we can access that. And that's where I can kind of help bring that in. We're working with lots of companies across the US. So I've got Virginia companies I'm working with, Arkansas companies I'm working with, California, Maine, you name it. We've got a company we're working with that's interested in Africa. At the same time, because we're focused on two-way trade and investment, we're also working with lots of African companies, trying to help them understand US markets, trying to help connect them with buyers, trying to help connect them with supply for equipment, materials, processing. We are pan-sectoral, which means that we will work in any sector. Of course, we have a few focus sectors right now based on the priorities of the Biden-Harris administration, includes agriculture, energy, climate change is a really big deal. We're also focusing on tech and the digital transformation that we see happening in Africa. I mean, across the continent, the average age is about 21 years old. And everyone that I've met in my travels across some 30 countries or so is very tech savvy. This young population knows how to use technology better than I ever did growing up. And it's just a part of who they are. It's a part of their DNA. And there's this entrepreneurial spirit of business that we really want to tap into. And not only that, but a desire for greater connections with the United States. And we're constantly running into government officials or business leaders on the continent saying, where is America? How come the US isn't here? You guys are not leaving us many other options, and we have to go to some other folks that we don't necessarily want to go to get our business deals done. So part of what we're doing with Prosper Africa as well is trying to bring those opportunities and create greater connections. I'm often asked, Jeremy, what's a roadmap for my business to enter into Africa, to expand into Africa, or if I'm an African business, how do I come to engage with the United States? And I say, we've been working really hard to develop something like that, but my experience is that each scenario is very different. You all are in a different position and are trying to accomplish different things. And if I were to provide a generic roadmap, I think that would be a disservice. So rather, what we've created is a group of people who know what they're doing, who can help drive you to the right thing without wasting your time. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'll wrap it up because we have some other very esteemed speakers coming up behind me that are going to talk about some really cool programs, especially in education. I look forward to all your questions. Again, please visit our website, prosperafrica.gov. My name is Jeremy. You can reach me at prosperafrica@usaid.gov. And Eric also has my personal email. So anybody that wants to reach out to me and set up a one-on-one call, I welcome that. Just reach out through Eric or through our website and get connected to us anytime. Thanks again. Really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Faber. And definitely, could you please drop that email in the chat? And definitely, I don't know if others can see it, but if you could just put that in a chat again, and then Lisa can share that with everybody that's online. That was some awesome information that we should take advantage of contacting for our 30-minute call. Those of us who can see how that information connects with what it is that we do. I believe we're a little ahead of schedule. Tell me, Eric, can we see if there are any questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Definitely. So if you have questions, if you'd like to, at this time, put them in the chat. We have Lisa that's reading those questions for us. Otherwise, if you would like to come online, if your connection is strong enough, then you can just ask your question out loud. If anyone has any questions for Jeremy Faber. All right, Lisa, did you have anything?
No, there's no questions in the chat,
Okay.
but Jeremy did drop in his website information.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we are going to move on to our next a master speaker, expert in her field. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Christy Hyman is an assistant professor of human geography in the Department of Geosciences at Mississippi State University. She is also a digital humanist, environmental advocate, grief worker as a bereaved mom, with a PhD in geography from the University of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Join the meeting.
Her research focuses on African American efforts toward cultural and political assertion in the Great Dismal Swamp region during the antebellum era, as well as the attendant social and environmental cost of human landscape resource exploitation. Dr. Hyman uses geographic information systems to observe to what extent digital cartography can inform us of the human experience while acknowledging phenomena deriving from oppressive systems in society threatening sustainable futures. She has been invited to share her work at a range of humanities centers all over the country. Dr. Hyman is also the Southeast Division Director for the American Association of Geographers Rural Geography Specialty Group and the Communications Director for the AAG Black Geographies Specialty Group. You can find her works in archives, in swamps, grasslands, and the seashore. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others Dr. Christy Hyman.
Thank you so much, Agnolia. It's always good to be in community with everyone. It's really blessed. As Agnolia indicated, I'm Christy Hyman, and I'm an assistant professor at Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi, in the Department of Geosciences with a joint appointment in the program of African American Studies. And my research centers on the historical dimensions of enslaved freedom seekers escaping slavery in the Great Dismal Swamp region during the antebellum era. And as was mentioned in my intro, I'm a cartographer, and I have used multi-criteria cost analysis in my historical models of landscape to explore the most ideal routes for historical actors to escape plantations during the era of slavery. During my time gathering research data, I met Eric, who at the time was continuing in his African American heritage curation and building up his business interest. And we began a collaboration that involved his initiatives to explore research and business opportunities in Zambia and through the Kingdom of Barotseland. All of us on the line know that Eric has established trusted relations with the leadership of Barotseland, and they have expressed interest in a variety of initiatives. And these interests span technology, agriculture, defense, you name it. And as an environmental advocate, I try to approach all the projects from a purely higher education training point of view, in that any potential engagement, which might include faculty exchanges, student training, would be rooted in sustainable approaches to any type of geoengineering project. We are fostering community self-determination, prioritized alongside of hopes for environmental sustainability. So when you're a new professor and you're at these institutions, you have to have a plan for research for all of the collaborations that you're going to set forth. So I see my potential role as being a builder of higher education capacity, which is defined as one of the greatest social and environmental challenges of our time. And the devastating incidence of this in developing countries means that the promise of higher education is reduced, which renders human potential for opportunities in STEM education and talent in these areas to be quite a challenge. And many of the objectives of global research exchanges have to do with increasing higher education capacity for STEM, in building collaborations for success, which would foster path-breaking alliances with universities in the Western province of Zambia, to provide training and policy outreach on education capacity in the region. The Global Engagement Seed Grant that I proposed at my institution, which I will know the results of probably sometime in January, was designed to allow partner universities that we're in communication with the opportunity for us to speak face to face on the ground and discuss together and bring a depth of research experience on the substantive topic of higher education capacity building. What we're trying to do is implement and train cutting edge social science, natural sciences, and engineering methods and approaches. And our thinking is built on the collaboration with broader impact networks and nodes, including Zambia higher education authorities. And collectively, we hope to build a transformative and imminent research and training program on higher education capacity. The overarching research questions guiding this, any proposed collaborations are to find what types of higher education capacity building interventions offer promising, scalable, and sustainable social and environmental solutions. Any broad research approach will be twofold: to partner with stakeholders in Zambia that are implementing a variety of interventions to explore the resources that will build their own education capacity. When we put these proposals together, our institution asked us to come up with a global impact statement. And they indicate that this statement should clearly define the global impact of the research. Then they ask you about international collaborations, which in this part of the proposal, it should demonstrate international collaborations along with making use of cross-campus relationships. And of course, this also means that the person who would be submitting a proposal for funding on global research should have already made themselves available to people on campus who may be interested, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to leverage existing resources and build on that. It also should show the expected outcomes. So the research question should clearly state the explanation and goals and objectives and the expected outcomes of any seed grant project. It should also point out future funding opportunities. And this is where priority is usually given to projects that target future funding from USAID or international development funding agencies. Projects building partnership in the European Union or US agencies such as the National Science Foundation in my side of things. That's the organization I have the most understanding of, and a bit of a glimpse on priorities and directorates that might satisfy what we're trying to do. The research capacity, the demonstration of the capacity to complete the project. They want these proposals to show what type of prior work you've done that is related to this, and the skills that you have that will help you carry it out. And of course, the project timeline, which would be the goal of the pilot project, and it needs to be achievable within 12 months. And the timeline usually is a separate page that outlines the activities and the goals that are to be achieved. And lastly, but not least, the project budget. And for the seed grant at Mississippi State, it's $5,000. So often these expenditures cover the cost of travel and lodging and transport on the ground when you get to these places. $5,000 is not a lot of money when it comes to international collaborations. However, so with this particular seed grant, they want your department to also match some of the money. So in my case, I would need to also ask my department head if some discretionary funds could be added to the $5,000 to achieve a more robust research agenda while there. But beyond the numbers and the metrics, every child worldwide should have a human right to quality education, and foundational skills are essential to fulfilling that right. And at the primary level, this means that every child should be both complete primary school and achieve at least a minimum proficiency in reading and numeracy. And moreover, foundational skills power individual careers, as well as the social and economic prosperity of a nation. So reducing learning poverty, uplifting higher education capacity, and community self-determination is key to carrying these things out. The pandemic has shown the role of schools as a central part of the social fabric of society. It provides children with knowledge and cognitive skills, socio-emotional skills, and executive function development. Schools provide children an opportunity to learn subjects as diverse as mathematics, sciences, arts, citizenship, and to develop social emotional skills and physical and wellness and so much more. A lot of centers, international NGOs have developed frameworks for working in this particular line of research, and it's called the RAPID framework, and it's an acronym. The R, it stands for reach every child and keep them in school. The A, assess learning levels regularly. The P, prioritize teaching the fundamentals. The I, increase the efficiency of instruction, including through catch-up learning. And the D, develop psychosocial health and well-being. How can we support children to feel welcome back at school and to manage their anxiety stemming from the pandemic, school re-engagement, and catching up learning? Teachers are central to the success of this framework. And none of these principles that I've outlined here along the acronym won't succeed without prepared, supported, and motivated teachers and systems that we'll need to make sure to gain teachers' commitment and incorporate their perspectives into strategy implementation. So going forward, you know, what I ultimately hope is to be a vehicle for interested parties who are invested in education capacity building to get to Zambia, hopefully in 2023, and get this work on the ground. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Everyone, could we please just say thank you to Dr. Hyman for the information that she has shared. And if there's any questions, if there's any comments, hopefully you have put some in the chat. Lisa, do we have anything?
No questions for Dr. Christie as of now.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I really continue to encourage everyone to have your pen and paper. This information is so necessary and so important. And even if we don't have questions right now, as we move forward through the week, something might come up in our heads or minds. So I'm hoping that we're taking really, really good notes and we're writing down those questions that maybe we can pose later on. All right, thank you so much. Are we ready for our next speaker? If you are ready, write it in the chat. I'm trying to engage you. Write in the chat, I am ready. And I am going to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Chris Zahowski is an assistant professor of park, recreation, tourism studies at Old Dominion University. He studies human behavior in outdoor recreation settings and has conducted funded field research within U.S. National Park Service, Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Land Management units, as well as with Virginia State Parks and numerous local, regional, and national advocacy organizations. He currently serves on the board of directors for the Society of Outdoor Recreation Professionals and as an associate editor for Leisure Sciences and Society and Natural Resources. Dr. Zahowski's scholarship and teaching centers on his enduring belief that education for a more just and sustainable future includes a focus on non-traditional settings of learning, such as parks and protected areas, where transformative experiences can catalyze cognitive, affective, and behavioral change. That was a mouthful. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others, Dr. Chris Zahowski.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with y'all. And I got a couple tough acts to follow here. So I'm going to try to bring the noise here on my end. Really enjoy what other speakers have had to share thus far. I've got a couple slides that I'm hoping to share with y'all that may be, information folks are already familiar with for some of y'all, but might be new information for others. So I'm hoping that there's something that everyone can get out of this, or maybe there's some reinforcing that might be happening here. Can folks see the slides that I'm presenting up on the screen here? If you can give me a shout out, a head shake, I see a thumbs up. Great. Awesome. All right. Well, again, I'm Chris Zahowski. I'm coming to y'all from Wakanda, Illinois. I put in the chat. I wish I was in the other Wakanda, but I'm up in Illinois for the holidays right now. And I work at Old Dominion University in coastal Virginia. That's how I got to know Eric. And that's how I'm involved in this conversation right now. I'm in the process of transitioning to University of Idaho for an assistant professor position there in parks, tourism, and recreation ecology. And I've spent the past 10 years working in higher education, both at ODU, University of Utah, and Loyola University Chicago as well. So I kind of know the higher ed setting. Much like Dr. Hyman, I've spent some time in this space, and I thought maybe the benefit that I can bring to this conversation today is talking a little bit about how to engage higher education in some of the efforts that you all are hoping to do in Zambia. How do you speak some of the higher ed language that we might be utilizing in our spaces? And how do you access student interest and excitement, as well as faculty expertise to be able to leverage whatever it is you're trying to do? And so I'm not here to talk about outdoor recreation or parks or protected areas. That's my research area. Really, I'm hoping that this information is broadly applicable, whether you're trying to get involved with somebody who does work like Dr. Hyman does in her specialty, or somebody who's doing engineering work or doing work in healthcare and then in a school of nursing. I'm hoping that this content that I'm going to share with you is broadly applicable across different focal areas, and that you can leverage it for whatever purpose is useful for you. So that's kind of where we're going here over the next couple slides. Before we get there, just for a little bit of context, and I'm going to use the two institutions that I'm either about to leave at ODU and about to join at University of Idaho. Throughout higher education, there's a huge interest in experiential learning. And that means a variety of different things to a variety of different people. I think about it as learning is doing. I think about it as getting students involved in, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom, in real world situations, in relationships, and in solving problems. And so at ODU, where I currently work, we have a Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Studies degree. But we also have a tourism and hospitality management concentration. So for us, that might be getting involved with a DMO, a destination marketing organization in our area, and trying to see how we can connect students with that DMO to meet some of the needs that they see, that the DMO sees, that provides students with those training experiences that allows them to grow and learn, but not just from me and not just from a textbook. But rather from folks who are actually doing the work. We also have a recreational therapy degree, so folks who are providing treatment or maintaining and improving health conditions for individuals across the lifespan. And so some of the experiential learning we might be doing in that specific area would be connecting with the senior center and putting students in that senior center to provide activities and to build relationships with the residents. And those would be experiential learning opportunities that our degree, which has a variety of different focal areas, might provide. And you can no doubt imagine other applications of this. There's probably folks on the call here who are doing this on a regular basis. But for those who are not familiar with experiential ed or don't spend a lot of time thinking about higher education, this is kind of a big buzzword in our area right now. I'm looking forward to where I'm going to be going in University of Idaho. They're doing the same thing. They're thinking about field experiences. How do they get students out of the classroom and doing really unique and meaningful activities in other spaces? And that might be within the United States, but no doubt that might be in Zambia, in Western Province. And a lot of us are familiar with those types of field experiences as study abroad or global engagement. But there are other ways that we can do this as well within the higher education framework. So I want to tee up some of those because I'm assuming that if you're on this call, you're familiar with study abroad, you're familiar with global education broadly. So I want to provide a few other avenues for ways you might think of engaging with higher education. Doesn't have to be with my institutions, could be with any school across the US or even in Zambia, and leverage some of what they're hoping to do there to be able to reach some of your goals. In higher education, Dr. Koo in 2008 kind of combined a bunch of practices that are used in the experiential education world to improve student success and increase retention. And I've got those different practices listed up on the slide here. The ones in white are ones I'm not going to talk about today. Again, like I said, I'm not really going to talk a whole lot about global learning because I'm assuming that folks are, coming to this talk knowing a little bit about that and assuming that it can be leveraged in Zambia. What I want to talk about today are using course assignments and projects, internships, and undergraduate research to potentially think about how you might take the work that you're doing, partner with a university and leverage some of their capacity and bring it to Zambia. And this might be, Dr. Hyman was talking about some of these really great opportunities with the National Science Foundation and with USAID and other large governmental entities that might be dropping a lot more money into a specific effort or endeavor. If you're interested in piloting something, if you're interested in building relationships with a school, those are the types of activities I'm going to talk about. They're a little bit more like Moneyball if you're a baseball fan, which I am. So we're trying to think about how do we leverage smaller pots of money to build relationships and engage internationally. And so I'm going to talk about these three different high impact practices that George Koo has outlined and that institutions across the country and across the world are leveraging right now with their students. The first is undergraduate research. This is a priority on every campus in the US right now, whether it's a small teaching school, whether it's a large research intensive institution, whether it's a mid-major, a community college. Undergraduate research is something that every institution and their administrators are excited about. How do we get our students out either in a lab or out in the community collecting data to be able to inform our knowledge, but perhaps also in the applied fields, make change. And so this is a big buzzword, a big initiative in higher education right now. And institutions are allocating funds to support student travel, to support student research equipment, to support whatever students are passionate about. And so I see this as a really interesting partnership opportunity for some of you on this call to think about how you might get involved with, let's say that you're interested in something having to do with water chemistry and trying to access clean water in remote environments, right? How do you partner with the chemistry department? Or how do you partner with an environmental science department to be able to perhaps facilitate them supporting a student going to Zambia to engage in some project that you're able to then leverage into real tangible change for folks on the ground, a beneficial experience for that student, and perhaps the start of a relationship with that faculty or with that institution. And I sit on the board for undergraduate research at Old Dominion University. So we see student projects that are proposed from across the campus. So folks from English, folks from art, folks from biology. And there's very rare that we turn one down. So about 3 times a year, we have these application deadlines for, again, small pots of money. And like Dr. Hyman said, it takes a pretty penny to get over to Zambia in the first place, and then to be able to engage in some of the work that these students are interested in doing. But if that's paired with departmental funds, or perhaps if you own a small business and you have an interest and you want to match those funds, this might support a student and being able to do something really interesting for them and meaningful for them, but also for you and for community or more broadly for knowledge and science. So that's just one area of or one high impact practice that I want to highlight today that I think we don't often consider when we're thinking about global engagement, but it's one that I encourage you to check out. And again, this isn't all about me here. This is more about, how could you connect with an institution that's right in your backyard, regardless of where you are. If you're up in Northern Virginia, there's a bunch of them up there. If you're in Mississippi, obviously you're going to talk to Dr. Hyman. But if you're in other places, you may reach out to folks that you have relationships with or you want to foster those collaborations with and talk about undergraduate research. Okay, internships. I think we all know, what an internship is broadly. We're providing unpaid or paid career preparation for students, often at the end of their academic process. So if they're spending 4 years with us at an institution, in my degree, we have them at the very end do a 400-hour internship. And I've got the course information down at the bottom there for our degree at ODU. Every school is different. They might have 300 hours, they might have 200 hours, they might have 600 hours. But the bottom line is they've got to do a pretty in-depth something with somebody somewhere, globally. And why should that not be in Zambia? Why should that not be with you all in whatever area that you're interested in getting involved in? One of the challenges that we have in our program is connecting students with meaningful opportunities. So I have students coming to me every semester. I do advising for our students, and they say, well, I don't know what to do my internship in. And so I have my own contacts, and I ask the students what they're interested in and try to do a little bit of matchmaking. But I think it'd be great if folks like you all who are on this call are coming to folks like me or folks, in the backyard, wherever you are, and providing them with opportunities. The institution that I'm about to transition to, if you go to their website, they actually do this. They have a Google form. I think it's a Google form on their website. And they say, okay, if you want to, if you have something that's environmental science or natural resource related, and you think this would be a good internship or project for students, please put your contact information in there. Please write down some information about what that opportunity might be. And we can share this on our social media, on our departmental website, to try to facilitate that matchmaking. Because again, the more kind of facilitation and coordination there, the more the student can find these opportunities. Again, that seems to be the biggest challenge we have. Once we get a student placed, 9 times out of 10, it's great. We always have, students that are a little bit more difficult than others, no doubt. But most of our students are doing a really great job and doing really meaningful work out there for whoever it is they're working for. And whether that's in our backyard in Hampton Roads, Virginia, or, halfway around the world. So internships is something I'd really suggest you leverage, regardless of what field you're in, especially for those of us who are in the applied fields where we're training students to work in national parks or World Heritage sites or, other environments. We want them to be career ready when they leave us, so that there's not all this on-the-job training that has to be done, or at least we minimize that on-the-job training when they show up and work for an agency or an organization. So anyway, internships, I suggest you look at and reach out to folks in your specific areas to see how you might be able to leverage those. Collaborative learning and projects. This is probably another no-brainer for many of y'all who spent time with folks in academics. But in every course that I teach, I try to build in some kind of project that does something outside of just reading a book and then talking about it or doing an assignment. I want the students to be able to walk away from that course saying, I didn't just send a paper off to Chris or Dr. Z, and then it got put in the garbage, or I clicked delete on an email or whatever. I want there to be some kind of lasting importance at the end of the project. And there are a lot of other faculty like me who feel that way across the globe, right? And so we're always looking for new and exciting opportunities to engage students in real world problems. Problem-based learning is one subset of the experiential learning framework, where we propose problems to students and we use an assignment to kind of structure a solution for that problem. Now, they may not solve the world, they may not solve, some of our biggest challenges that exist out there, and they may even provide, solutions that we think are perhaps less efficacious, less useful, but they're still going through that experiential learning process where they're trying things out. They're trying to see how they can sink their teeth into some kind of issue and make a difference. And often these can involve organizational partnerships. So when I do these, I'll usually partner with an NGO or a state park, or in the most recent case, the one I'll talk about here in a second, with a wildlife refuge. And I could see the same thing happening with an organization over in Zambia, right? It could be a federal organization, it could be an NGO, it could be a private sector entity, but I could see you partnering with a class that's adjacent to the work and the sector that you work in. Here's an example of one that we're doing right now in a grad class that I'm involved in. Some of you all, if you know Eric, you know that he's part of the reason that we have the U.S. House of Representatives passing the Great Dismal Swamp National Heritage Area Act, trying to commemorate this space where so much meaningful history has happened. And Christy's done a lot of work in this area as well. I'm a little bit of a newcomer in this area myself, learning about the importance of the Great Dismal Swamp for enslaved individuals and folks who escaped enslavement and sought refuge there. But that story was super impactful and powerful to me. When I learned that the House had passed this act, but it was held up in the Senate, and they're going to do a feasibility study, I thought, well, why are we doing this? There's so much research like that, which Dr. Hyman's been doing, Dr. Sayers has been doing, other folks have been doing research on the swamp for years. So why a feasibility study when we have such a wealth of information out there? So for our project and our grad course, we're trying to compile a lot of that information and have students study it and understand it, and then create a report that we can give to Chris Lowy at the refuge, give to Eric, give to other folks, so they can use that as talking points when they're out having conversations about this National Heritage Area Act. We're also going to try to publish it, have it be open access so anyone can read it and can be supporting the movement to try to kind of seal the deal here. We often as academics, we say more research is needed. I don't think more research is needed here. I think there's been a wealth of information that's been done by other folks that justifies the importance of this act. And that's kind of what we're doing with the project in this class. Students are writing this paper, they're trying to compile all these sources, and that helps me meet academic benchmarks, but also hopefully helps slightly move a needle that Eric and others have been working on for quite some time now. So we're just trying to be a small drop in a bucket of water to make this happen. So that's just one example. But shoot, I could think of many other collaborative learning and project assignments that could be focused on empowerment and engagement in Zambia, specifically with the Western Province. And no doubt you all probably have way better ideas of what those could be. But connecting with somebody who's in an institution in your backyard, I'm kind of beating the drum here, I think will allow you to leverage those. And again, these are sort of those creative, non-traditional ways of doing global engagement outside of the study abroad landscape. The last one I want to talk about more on the graduate level is, as Christy mentioned, there's a variety of different institutions that are supporting funded research efforts. And so no doubt you can get involved with those institutions and see if there's something that you're looking to learn answers to that supports development in Zambia. Then I encourage you to reach out to the faculty and in whatever field it is that you think is adjacent to that interest. So in my area, one of the things that we do recreation suitability mapping. We talk to folks who utilize a recreation resource. In this case, the map on the slide is an 822-mile-long trail network that goes around DC, stretches from Pittsburgh all the way down to the Northern Neck in Virginia. And we get out on the trail and we ask people who are utilizing that resource, why do you come here? What are your demographics? So what's your household income, or what gender identity do you have, racial distribution, et cetera, to see both is this resource being equitably accessed by the community that it runs through, but also what should the park know? This is run by the National Park Service, this trail network. What should they know about their visitors? What do they want out of this space, right? And so we do that kind of work. We do needs assessments and market analyses for recreation related resources. We do stakeholder engagement with folks who live in or near parks and protected areas. We do a lot of environmental impact assessments, trying to understand how recreation might cause undue environmental impact to wildlife populations. And how do we support sustainable ecotourism or other forms of tourism in these parks and protected areas. So that's my little slice of the research world, but no doubt the pie is big. And there's a lot of other faculty like Dr. Hyman and myself out there who could help support your efforts, whether you're on this call from Zambia or you're on this call from the States, just another way to engage higher education. Again, some of this is probably very well known to many of y'all, but for those who don't spend a lot of time in the higher education space, making connections with us. Obviously, there's folks like me and Dr. Hyman on the call here, but you could also reach out to programs and departments. So if your challenge is an engineering-based challenge, reaching out to the chair of that department or the undergraduate program director or the graduate program director of that engineering department. are ways to kind of start finding those folks who might be able to facilitate and the need you have. Offices of sponsored programs, every institution has one of those. Those are the folks that manage the contracts and the grants at those institutions. So you can obviously reach out to them as well. Usually there's like a foundation, a nonprofit that's adjacent to the institution that's sort of the funnel for funding. And then there's also the institutional sponsored Office of Research that supports faculty. So you can reach out to either one of those entities and they can do the matchmaking as well for you to try to find ways to connect. And then obviously, like I said, there's the global engagement folks, the folks who do study abroad. But I think those are big lifts, right? Bringing a whole class over to Western Province in Zambia, that's a big lift. So you want to, know that you're going to trust that school, that individual, that program to do a good job and be culturally responsive in the spaces they're going to. So some of the steps that I've suggested today, I think, help you test the waters a little bit without the same level of investment and commitment to an individual faculty member or a school before you do one of those bigger lifts. So that's it. That's me. A little bit about what I do, but a little bit about what I think you can leverage in the higher education space for all the things that you all the great work that you're doing already. And so I'll stop yapping at you here. And I thank you again, Eric, for the invitation to be here today.
Sure, Dr. Chris, thank you for all that you've done. It's been great working with you and getting to know you. And I just want to interject a few things. One is Ella Hughes, if you're still here, she has to leave. She's, I believe, teaching the class this afternoon, and I just wanted her to introduce herself and see how all of your expertise complement one another. And so a lot of us who are not in the education sector are kind of taking this in, but I'm sure there'll be some great outcomes from all of your efforts. So if Ella, if you're there before you have to leave to teach your class, can you just say hello to everyone?
I want to say this is great information. I thank each and every one of you. I applaud you for the information that you have provided to each and every one of us on this webinar this morning. My name is Ella Hughes, and I spent a great deal of my time in hotel and lodging. I'm a hospitality trainer for all sectors, for all hotels, from Marriott to Hilton to Hyatt. I've worked in all those industries. And what I do is I certify all the employees that work inside that industry with a global certificate. What do I mean by that? The certifications that they receive are utilized not only in hotels throughout the continental United States, Canada, China, Asia, as well as Europe. They all utilize one particular certification. My sister and I run a company that pretty much goes in throughout the continental United States and certifies, not only on the business side sector of it, I also teach in the community college level as well. I'm also a contractor with Job Corps. And what is Job Corps in the United States? Well, it teaches high school students the various ground level trades, from carpentry to electrician to building construction to plumbing, as well as culinary arts. Because what we're doing, not everyone is going to have the opportunity to go to higher education, but you got to start with the groundwork and teach children how to work with their hands, how they are exposed to the trades that are really going to build your country as well as America. It's one thing. We focus on technology, which is great, but who's going to build it? Who's going to keep it going? How are we going to keep our shelves stocked if we don't go back and build in terms of trades? And you're always going to need people that work in the trades, and especially the trade sector. And exposing the youth to it early really makes great sense. And so I want to leave you on that note. Eric has my information, as well as Lisa. If in the event that you need further information from me, how I can be of value or service to you, as well as your institution and your business, where you can reach out to me through my company as well as Eric, and I could share vital more information. And I want to thank you all. Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you, Ella. And just to let everyone know, Ella
Wow.
was the 2019 delegation that went to Western Province, Zambia with us. And so she's been there on the ground in Barosi land before, and she's still a part of what we're doing. And I'd just like to say one other thing, B, before you introduce the next speaker. The Great Dismal Swamp and all that history with Moses Grandy and people seeking freedom in the swamp and all of that. Many of you don't know, but in Barosi land, it's a similar history. Barosi land, which is the historic Barosi land is Western Province, Zambia, as well, and they also provided refuge for Angolans who were escaping the slave traders over on that side. And so that history and the tradition of the Lozi people and the Barosi kingdom, many of us, I think we only a few that even know about it here. And so in 2019, the refuge manager at the Great Dismal Swamp to establish a strategic tourism partnership with the Barosi Royal Establishment. So when you talk about research and curriculum type of activities between something that's already bringing in millions of dollars here in tourism and research, then that also extends to Barosi land with similar history. So just for some of you educators to know, and I'm really interested in working with Bethel University in Mongu with the potential research and other projects which the history is shared between us. So this is a great start, and I'm very, very pleased and honored to have such distinguished guests come on and do presentations here. This has been awesome so far, and we still have a little more to do. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Mrs. Hughes. Thank you to all of the presenters that have been speaking thus far. I just want to encourage everyone. I know we've had a couple of people drop their information in the chat. If everyone would put their information, the name of their business, et cetera, in the chat, that would be a wealth of information for the organization, and also to keep the network connected and us to know what's out there and available to us. We are on schedule. And so we are going to go on. I want us to please in the chat say thank you to all of our previous speakers. If there are things that they have said that was meaningful, definitely please share that encouraging word with them. Our next speaker, are you ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Edward Williams is the founder and president of EW Secure Technologies, a certified veteran-owned small business headquartered in DC metropolitan area, serving the federal, civil, and DoD communities. EW Secure Technologies specializes in implementing customizable security security solutions that align with the mission, schedule, and budget of our clients. Their security experts can advise you with security requirements associated with your system's needs and requirements. They can provide a plan to secure your system and also for upgrading legacy systems. Since 2010, EW Secure Technologies has been there for both the government, industry, and home users. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others, Mr. Edward Williams.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
The presentation, I guess I can share the, or do you have it? How can we do this? Do I
You
need
can
to
share, if you want, you can just share it.
Okay, so I'm hoping that, see, I'm a novice at
Yeah, because
this
use my
Zoom.
other computer today. So,
All right.
so if you have any issues, you've been around long enough that you can walk us through whatever you want to say. I'm sure of that.
Okay. Did anyone see the presentation? Not really.
No,
So, okay. All right. Well, like I said, I'm Ed Williams. I'm the owner of EW Secure Technologies, and actually, lately, I'm a service disabled vet. I had a four-year hiatus dealing with some issues associated with the Gulf War and military service. So I'm back. I'm excited to get back into this industry. And I just hope that I can live up to the previous presenters. So that said, I would like to go ahead and get into this presentation. So what is security? Merriam-Webster's define security as quality or state of being secure, such as freedom from danger, freedom from fear or anxiety, freedom from the prospect of being laid off from a job, which is job security. Someone may say is surety. Another person may say is protection. And if you get into like the international type of sabotage and stuff, you may see security as protection against espionage, crime, or escaped prisoners. So that said, when you compare,
let's make sure excuse me, Ed, let's make sure everybody's got their mic on mute.
okay.
Song is coming through.
All right. Continue. All right. So what is the definition of cybersecurity? It's prevention of damage to, protection of, and restoration of computers, electronic communication systems, electronic communication services, wire communications, electronic communications, including information contained therein, to ensure its availability, which is make sure that your system is ready for use, integrity, authentication, confidentiality, free from disclosure, and non-repudiation, which identifies a person that has sent something. So non-repudiation, it qualifies as when a person sends something, they can't refute it. So why do we have it? Just look at the evolution of technology. Now we're moving to a paperless environment, and it's like it's like if you don't know, or if you're not up to a level where you know something about computers, it's almost like you are computer illiterate. So I advise everyone to at least get somewhat savvy to information technology, because that's what we're moving to. We're moving to a paperless society. And so there are a lot of protections that you need with these computer systems. So the main thing you want to do is protect your data and information from being disclosed. if you have a business or corporation, you may have certain labels on your intellectual properties that is identified as sensitive or confidential. So you want to identify that so that when that does become disclosed or shared, that you have those labels on there, and so that you would have a definite advocate to address it, just in case you go to court. And the government has various types of information like secret, top secret, confidential information, and definitely the government wants to protect that from disclosure. There's personal individual information, PII. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that now, especially the things that have occurred within the cyber world, because people stealing your information. I know a partner of mine had her identity stolen, and so she had to go through so much to get her information or herself back into this environment, or all those things that she had protected. So she had to go back and deal with that. HIPAA, the Health Insurance Accountability Act. That's the information that you have in your hospitals, your medical doctors, and that type of thing. So you definitely don't want your medical records disclosed. So there needs to be protection for that type of information as well. So, and I like to just emphasize the organizational assets, or even the assets that you have in your home. You have information systems that's within your corporation or university or government agency or wherever that you would like to protect. Money. Banks, excuse me. Banks now they really they really have a huge interest in protecting their clients, because if you can't access your money or someone else steals your money, that's not good for the banks. And so there needs to be protection from that, and again, it takes time to really, get those things organized. So there are several professions that I would like to address. Now, I wish you guys could see it. The most important person that deals with the security of your information is called the data owner. And so the data owner is the ultimate person who is responsible for all these things go down. And so if something really happens, or if a virus breaks out on your system or something like that, the data owner is ultimately responsible for that. And so you also have another executive called a Chief Information Officer, or CIO, and he usually responsible for the IT part of an organization as well as the security part of the organization. And and when you have that tree broken up, these people, the security manager, and also the security, not security manager, but the system administrator, go hand in hand and agree upon what needs to be done. Because the security manager may have a certain requirement, from the CIO to protect the system a certain way. But sometimes when you protect the system a certain way, you may not be able to access the information that's necessary to perform your duties or do your job. And so there may be some leeway where the system administrator will talk with the security manager to get things done. So for instance, there may be extra restraints on your firewall. And so the system administrator may need to use a certain product, certain software, so that software will function properly. But if that restraint holds the system down to a point where it won't work, so it's a discussion between the two, so that they'll be able to work together to function with the system. And also you have professionals like the security architect who design the system security, like the firewalls, the intrusion detection systems, and those type of things. The passwords restraints, like the capital, lowercase numbers, special characters, that type of thing. And network security engineer who monitors how the network is going to function. So there are several certifications that's associated with these positions, especially in DoD. DoD now has a certification baseline that is necessary for his contractors as well as his workers, so that they are able to do certain functions on the system. And there are certain certifications like they call it A+ certification, Security Plus. And I'm sure that none of you know what that is, but those are the certifications that's necessary for any type of contractor or government personnel if they're dealing with some sort of computer, some jobs are dealing with computer information technology. There needs to be a certification that's associated with that. Now, my niece wants to get into this field, and a couple of people that I know when I was going through grad school wants to get into this field as well. So I had organized a training track so that they can have a foundation to build upon, so that they can get to a proficiency, so that they'd be able to do jobs, do things associated with cybersecurity. So CompTIA, this organization has, like I said, various certifications that coordinates with DoD to to teach the contractors and the government workers a certain baseline that they need to do certain work. So you wouldn't want someone that's not trained to protect your network because, or have the proficient hours to protect your network, because the bad guys, the hackers out there, they spend probably about 18 hours, a day on computer, on just learning raw computers and raw computer data that compared to another person who may spend like a few hours per day. And so the hackers are well ahead of us as far as the expertise to attack your system. So we need trained professionals to put up some sort of defense or defense in depth so that we can protect the information and assets that we have. Because it's like your house has certain protective measures, and you wouldn't want to lock your front and back door and leave all your windows open. That defeats the purpose of securing your house. So you may have cameras around your house, or the doorbell camera to just in case to get away, you have some sort of description of that particular person. So there's also Microsoft training. Microsoft is probably—
One second, Ed. We have a time constraint. And so we're gonna, if you could wrap it up in about a minute or so we can open it up for everybody before we close out in the next 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I can go. All right. And also you have Linux. That's another operating system that's comparable to Windows. The databases, like various databases, and also the network type of certification. So that is, the baseline of the training, and that concludes my presentation.
Good. What can you say? Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Edward Williams. We are so excited again. All of this information have been so powerful. We are coming to the end of our presentation or our webinar. This is the education and training sector. And throughout the year, we will have other master speakers that will provide information. It is my hope that everyone has taken detailed notes. You have written down all of the phone numbers and information to make these connects. And I would like to say thank you again to Eric for allowing me the opportunity to just be on this panel to introduce these experts in their field. I think Mrs. Ella Hughes was the icing on the cake. Thank you so much for allowing her to have a word to share. There were so many notes that I took. And we would like to ask if there are any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to say to our speakers. Now is the time for you to share that information. Lisa, do we have any questions in the chat?
No questions at this time, B.
And so we have maybe 3 minutes or so. If there's anyone who would like to come on, I know our first speaker, Jeremy Faber, Prosper Africa Initiative. He provided a 30-minute call for us to talk about grants and Finances, Dr. Christy Hyman with the University of Mississippi, Building Collaborations for Success, Global Research Exchange, partnering with universities. If you don't have questions right now, this information is going to be available. We have recorded the session. Thank you so much, Eric, for recording it today. Then we had Dr. Zahowski. He talked about experiential learning. And as a 23-year educator myself, that Howard Gardner information just came back to me. Recreational therapy. Oh man, that sounded so interesting. Then of course, Mrs. Hughes talked about the global certifications that she offer in hotel business. She talked about her connections with Job Corps and culinary arts. And finally, we had Mr. Edward Williams, our fifth. We had not 4, but 5 master speakers who talked about the importance of being technology savvy because we are moving to a paperless environment. Thank you so much, Eric, for this opportunity. And the last thing that struck me and was very important to hear, ladies and gentlemen, how the Dismal Swamp and Zambia have similar histories. Y'all, we got a lot to offer each other. It's just about being intentional, making those connections, reaching out to each other. That's what we need to do. And I am saying thank you again and good afternoon. I turn it over to our illustrious visionary leader, Mr. Eric Mubita Shepherd.
Thank you so much, Ms. B, Agnolia B. Gay. She always does such a fantastic job with everything that we ask her to do. And she's been around what we call our homecoming family for a number of years. And I'm hoping that everybody walks away with something that they didn't know of before, a contact that they see is going to take them to the next level. When you talk about resources that are out there, Prosper Africa with Jeremy Faber, doesn't get any better than that. Y'all have to know what y'all being exposed to here. And of course, Christy Hyman, Dr. Chris from ODU, who's given us a plethora of resources to get funding so that you can get your trip sponsored or maybe even perform on a contract that helps others. And I like to say with Ed and security, well, Ed is one of our homecoming family members who went to Ghana with us back in, I think, 2011, something like that. But cybersecurity, and I know how people are apprehensive of doing banking activities in Africa and think, you know, that the security in terms of cybersecurity is not paid attention to maybe. But Ed is a resource for connecting up the education sector in Zambia with the cybersecurity world to be able to train some of the students as well. And before I leave, also with Ella in hospitality, that's going to be instrumental. And also Dr. Hyman, Christy Hyman out there in the Mississippi State University, that she's already working on a grant package to come to Zambia with us on a trade mission next year to see what we can do to implement some projects there. And so with that being said, I want to open it up just for a quick moment for anybody that might have any questions that we can answer before we sign off. But also, we have a few people here that are from Zambia that have linked in with us. And if you could just introduce yourselves first with Sister Ngula and just say hello to everybody. And then whoever else is on from Zambia that would like to introduce themselves. This is your opportunity. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Ngula from Zambia. I'm sorry, I got a cough, so my voice is not too good, but I hope you can hear me. Hello, everyone, and I've enjoyed the webinar. It has been a lot of information in a very short time. So I'm yet to assimilate a lot of interesting things. And thank you very much for everyone who's spoken. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. And she did an MC job for us at our trade mission there in Zambia in September. It was just awesome. And also from Bethel University, do we have a representative there as well?
Yes. Good evening, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nyambemuya, the businessman. My name is Nyambemuya from Bethel University. For organizing this presentation with everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come join us. Any other questions or comments before we close down? We got about 2 minutes. Lisa, did you have a comment you wanted to make, an update?
No comments, but I hope everybody will save the date in January for our next webinar, which will be on agriculture. You can share this information. We do have a new constant contact email system that we will send information out to everyone, and please share this as you see fit. And I look forward to our monthly webinars continuing in 2023.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's see, we had a few people, anybody that's been to Africa before with us that want to say hello? Anybody there? Manima, Wally? Okay, all right, well, we thank you so much. And I see Martha has been on the webinar all this time, and we got to get Martha on the African continent in 20.
Yes, I'm here. Well, you know, I've been there, I just haven't been with you all. So I'm looking forward to going with you all.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
And yes, so Martha is there. And Martha, you want to tell them a little bit about what you do as well? Your interests? Okay, I guess, you there, Martha?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening over here. I'm coming in and coming out.
Oh, okay, okay. So just share with them your interest in what you do as well.
So briefly, I've been kind of all over the map. I've worked in education. I've been in security. I hold a master's in human services. So I've also worked in mental health. So I'm just kind of right now a support and partner with Mubita and Lisa, and just trying to, you know, support in whatever capacity I can at this point. So I'm just kind of keeping an open mind and waiting to see, so, you know, once I get there, so that I can see what opportunities await.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Martha. And Manyim, are you still there?
Hello. Yes, Eric, I'm still here.
Yes. Manyim, please introduce yourself, where you're from, and your expertise.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manyima Sise. I'm currently in Frederick County, Maryland. I hold a degree in hotel and restaurant management. I work for Marriott and Hilton. Now I have my own business called AI Next Level. So what I do is all my sales, like Ed said, I'm not internet smart, so I don't deal with the internet, but all my sales are based on referrals, basically. You know, someone knows about me, introduce me to a family member or a relative. So that's basically what I do. But I'm originally from the Gambia. Love Mubita. Thank you all to the speakers today. I learned a lot and looking forward for more webinars to come.
Thank you so much. Well, that kind of concludes the webinar. Thank you to everyone for joining in. And As we start to get more specific in the different industry sectors, those who are interested in opportunities, please share with them what we're doing. And we do plan to go to Zambia on a trade mission, possibly June, but it could be multiple times in 2023. So thank you all, and we really appreciate you, and we look forward to connecting with you at the next webinar in January. Everybody have a blessed weekend. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.